You should be net decking, and here's why. So net decking is finding a deck list online at whatever your deck building website of choice is, copying the list, bringing it in paper to your local armory, and playing the list. There's usually a fairly negative connotation with this, a little like pretentious and gatekeepy, where their argument is like, well, you're not as skilled because you didn't build the list yourself, and blah, 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 blah. I think that's bullshit. Here's a couple reasons why you should be net decking, especially if you're newer to Flesh and Blood. Number one, there's a lot of good deck builders out there, and you and me are probably not one of them, you know? There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. If somebody made a good deck list, play it. Second, and I think the most important thing is you start to learn what a strong deck feels like. When you play somebody else's deck, especially like an event-winning deck, you play that, and there is a stark difference in how the deck feels and performs and what you're doing turn to turn. Having that kind of experience, that litmus test of like what a good deck can do in the back of your mind is really helpful when you start building your own deck, because you kind of have this internal check of like, this deck isn't really, it's not doing what that deck, it doesn't feel like that deck felt. You know what I mean? Good decks have a smoothness and an ease, and doesn't fight you to accomplish the strategy. It runs like a machine. If you haven't played a good deck, if you haven't net decked, you don't probably have a good gauge of what that feels like. So you should net deck so you get a sense of what that feeling is, and you can kind of compare it to the things that you're doing. And then third, the other thing you learn is why people put cards in their decks for yourself. You play a deck list, particularly around sideboards, when you didn't build it yourself, you have to ask the question, why is this card here? What matchups are they running it? And you have to kind of figure that out for yourself as you're playing the deck. You coming to your own conclusion about why a card is in a deck or why it's good in a deck is so much more valuable than understanding why so-and-so thought it was good in the deck. So if you haven't, you should do some net decking.